I am super excited to have these two ladies in here. I have Emma McDonald and Collie Wilding in the house, and we've already missed some of the fun, but I know this is going to be a good one. I was just saying, like, these two, I've watched them interact before, so I'm stoked to have you both here. So thanks, one, for being here, and two, for taking time out of your day, because I know how your program is, and we'll talk a lot about that, but you're very busy women, so thank you for taking time to be here.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, we're super stoked to be here.
Right
We're
on.
so excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So in a nutshell, Passion Project to kind of set the bar is we're just here to connect the dots. And I always say, like, this is not a paddling podcast. We were talking about that. You'll see that paddling is part of these women's routine, but it's not the only thing. And we're going to connect the dots, and we're going to talk story, and we're going to kind of talk about where you started and how you ended up here, because where you are right now is really impressive and super cool, and there's a lot going on in your worlds. And we're going to unpack that, because I think there's not only a lot going on, but it's moving fast, and there's changes, and there's things coming, and there's a lot. And it's super impressive. And I love having really impressive people in here and to tell their story, but because there's always little things that we can learn, and like the secrets of success and what drives you and how you do it and how you manage 87 things a day that you do and still actually seem like you're happy and having fun. Because not everybody, I think, can do that very well or want to do that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Awesome. But I'm going to start here. Like, we only know each other through the Newport Aquatic Center. Mm-hmm. And this goes back to what I always say, which is you never know who's in the room. And that goes at work, on the playground if you're a kid, or at the gym at the Aquatic Center, because there's a lot of super fit people in there, and people come in. We were just talking, we have European national teams that come in. We just saw some European guys. We're like, are those paddlers or rowers? Like, right? But you never know who's in the room. And I think it's kind of an important thing to remember in life, because, you know, I always say, like, to my kids, like, don't pick a fight with that little guy, because he might be a jiu-jitsu master and tie him in a knot in 12 seconds. You can't underestimate people. Now, you two in the gym are different, because, like, I love a good pull-up routine, but you guys would smash me. So I know I'm giving a little bit of color away, but, like, that's where I first saw you guys in the gym. And then I started to find out just over time what you guys were doing at Newport Aquatic Center, because you weren't regulars, but you've become more and more and more frequent. So we're going to start there. So you guys haven't talked yet, and trust me, I'll stop talking soon. It'll all be about you. But in my homework, I came up with some questions that I think will help shine a light on a little bit more about you and kind of set the stage. So we're going to do a little Q&A.
Okay.
And I think it's going to tell a good story. So I'm just jumping right in. Okay. Which of you grew up in Hawaii?
Both of us.
Yeah.
You both did.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also both not as well.
Well, okay. So, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But which one of you, or either of you or none of you, were born in Hawaii?
Neither.
Neither.
us, yeah.
That's right. Collie, you were born in?
Australia. Sydney.
Emma?
I was born in Taiwan.
Taiwan. See, plot gets a little thicker. Who speaks Mandarin? I think we know that.
Yeah, I speak Mandarin.
Well, Collie, do you speak Australian?
Yeah, hardly. But
I think that's just broken English.
Right. Well, can you throw around pigeon from Hawaii?
A little bit. She's much more.
Keep it PC.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can. If you live in Hawaii long enough.
In the right crowd, I think.
In the right crowd.
she's from the east side, and that's much more like
local.
I feel like appropriate. Yeah.
Got it. Well, we're going to find out more about all this stuff, but I got more questions. Who went to Punahou?
I did. I went to Punahou. Collie went to Mid-Pac.
Mid-Pac. Were those rival schools in sports?
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, there's not that
they're
many
better.
schools.
Not that many crossover.
There just aren't that many high schools within, like, the division of sports, so kind of everyone's rivals with everyone.
Got it. Especially in Hawaii. That's kind of the nature of Hawaii
Yeah.
as it stands. Okay, well, that gets interesting. Who played varsity polo in high school? Water polo.
I did.
Yeah, you did. I know you did. Emma did. Did anybody play soccer?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collie did. Who grew up doing gymnastics?
And me.
Definitely
Sure.
not me.
How long did you do gymnastics?
I started in baby gym, so my mom would take me like basically as soon as I came out of her, until I was about like 13.
Got it. And then you pivoted, but we're not going there yet
Yeah.
because I got more questions. Who paddled outrigger in high school?
I did.
I did, but
Collie
not
kinda
for
did.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So you answered one of the questions that's coming up, but we're going to stay on these. Who's been on the U.S. Sprint Junior National Team?
Both of us.
Both have,
Yeah.
yeah.
What about the senior national team?
Both of us.
Yeah. Okay. See, we're painting a picture of who's
Yeah.
in the room today. Super impressive. Who goes to UCLA?
I do.
And who goes to USC?
Me.
Okay, so you had competing schools
Oh yeah.
in high school, competing schools. I mean, this is like house divided, like
Well,
2 times
it really
over.
is.
We're still
right?
besties though.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. I love that. That's really cool. Who is a dual citizen?
We both
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where? You're dual with
Australia and the US.
in the U.S. and you are dual with
I'm America and Canada.
in Canada. How did Canada come about? Because you said you were born in Taiwan.
Yeah, so I used to have like residency in Taiwan because I was born there, but my dad is American and my mom is Canadian.
Oh.
So
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah, so I'm
All right.
50-50.
50-50. Okay, I have a question. Final question of our Q&A. Who is gunning for the Olympics?
Both of us.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay.
Hopefully
Love
together.
Yeah.
That. Oh, hold on. I missed one because it's important. So obviously we've talked about all this sport, but we also talked who is or has been a D1 rower at UCLA.
I did.
You guys are impressive. Just saying. Okay, do you hear that? So we've got D1. We have multiple sports. You grew up doing all these other ones, and you're both gunning for the Olympics. You've both been on junior and senior national teams, underachievers, and you're both in your early 20s. Is that right?
I'm 20.
Yeah.
Colley's
20.
21.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That is super impressive. So that's why you guys are here. And as I said, you're doing all this, and you make it look like it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have the most fun doing it. I think
Hallelujah.
that's our number one goal is just to have fun in everything.
Does that that's a big part of what we're talking about today, but let's keep going. I mean, well, let's do this. Let's just talk about today. So it's 11:15 in the morning. You guys have done a few things already.
Yeah.
So just talk us through today. What have you guys done? Where did you start and at what time?
Colley and I are staying in an Airbnb right now in Irvine.
Okay.
So alarms went off at 6 o'clock this morning.
Yep.
Get up, eat our meal prepped breakfast, and got in the car. 6:30. I had a gym session with my coach online from 7 to 8:30. So I was in the NAC gym from 7 to 8:30, and then
Saw you there.
Yeah. Great start to my morning, seeing Mark.
Wow,
And then
thank you.
I got on the water and did a short session on the water, and then had a quick breakfast on the way here.
That's a lot in the morning. And
I
you?
didn't have 2 sessions this morning, but I'll have 2 sessions in the afternoon. But this morning, same, got to NAC 6:30 and then, 7. And then from 7 to 8:30-ish, had a K2 session with Elena, another girl who's part of the training camp.
So K1, K2. So it's a flatwater kayak, one
Yeah,
person
sorry.
or 2 person. I know. I just you got to remember sometimes it's not a paddle podcast.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Now, and Elena is someone I didn't know. Emma, you were telling me a bit about her. She's the third. What did you guys say? The third musketeer.
musketeer, yeah.
I love that. And she's at an elite level with the 2 of you,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Awesome. It's super impressive. And she's from Washington,
She
right?
is.
The third musketeer.
We're going to make her a Californian, though, with
Yeah.
us next year.
Yeah.
A
So
whole crew of people coming down to Newport.
yeah. So tell us. So the reason I asked about this morning because you guys have done that same routine that you did this morning, but generally you're coming down from school in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So you would leave even earlier, come down to your workout, go back up there for school. You're getting a lot more done in the first half of your day than most people do in a week, right?
And a
Yeah.
lot more driving, probably.
Yeah,
too.
so much
A
more
lot
driving.
for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Okay, super cool. So the Q&A, I think, sets the table, and now we're going to go a little deeper. So you already talked about growing up on Oahu. You were friends. So you became friends through paddling. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, like 6-man paddling.
6-man outrigger paddling. How old were you guys when you met?
You had just turned 16.
Yeah, I had just turned, or I was just about to turn 16, I think. It was, we were doing long distance outrigger paddling. So I paddled for Lanikai Canoe Club since I was quite young, just in the neighborhood that I lived in. And I did mostly regatta season, so it's short course. It's like quarter mile, half mile sprint style, all in 6-man outrigger. And then once you turn 15, you can start doing open ocean long distance stuff. And that's when you have like an escort boat chasing you and you have 6 to 12 people switching in, like total for the races. So I started that, and the summer that I was 15, because I turned 16 on the day of the Molokai Channel, and you have to be 16 to race Molokai. And that was the season that Kali joined Lani Kai as well. So we met during that distance season.
I was a bit of a guest. I didn't do it all growing up with a club specifically, but I came in for that Molokai race.
So you guys both did your first Molokai 9-man at 16, 17?
Well, I'm a year older, but I had done it previously with a different club. Yeah.
So great. I mean, that's most people that paddle, that's like their bucket list or their goal. Less so in Hawaii, a lot more people. It's more accessible.
Yeah.
Exactly. But for coming from here, like you talk about Molokai with like extreme reverence, right? And to be able to do that when you're 16. So you guys have probably done that more than, well, you've probably done it quite a few times already.
Yeah,
right?
I think we've done it 3 or 4
That's
times.
awesome.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the most memorable though. Like when I think about my birthdays in my life, I definitely remember that one as kind of top of the list. Yeah, I woke up on my 16th birthday. There was another girl on our crew actually whose birthday was the same day, but she was turning 18. And we just had like a little birthday party before, and then we got down to the boat, and it was really exciting. So.
Yeah.
And for non-paddlers, Molokai is one of the premier races in the world, and it's a 32. Is it still 30? Is it 32?
32 miles.
6-man or 9-man? 32-mile across the Channel of Bones, big water, ideally big water. I've done it, so it's funny. Coming from here, it's hard to train for Molokai. I've done Molokai 3 times prone.
Wow.
Which is
And
much
not very
crazier.
Yeah, that is definitely harder.
And it kicked my ass every single time. I was slow and pathetic, unfortunately.
Nothing about that's pathetic, but
Yeah.
go on.
Yeah, channel crossings are always good, but we'll go further into this. So before we're gonna step back and get more family stuff, but because we're on when you guys grew up with paddling, you also both grew up working and spending time at Ikaika, is that right? Can you talk about this? It's such a cool, I only know a little bit, but it sounds rad, like the Waterman Academy, right?
Yeah, so Ikaika is a waterman's academy, and my mom actually founded it in Hawaii. And it started off like it was just a trailer with boats, and now we run out of the Hawaii Yacht Club, and we've got so many more kids, and it's grown so much. And basically, you get to learn all like stand-up paddleboard, OC paddling, outrigger canoeing, kayak. We've got even some like water polo and safety skills and ocean stewardship stuff, and like we have is it Sustainable Coastlines comes and does some activities with us. So it's the full ocean picture. There's also what else is there?
Canoeing, like C1, sprint
C1.
style canoeing. So no AMA.
Yeah, and some like rescue skills, and then also it's all built off of this Aspire philosophy, which is attitude, sportsmanship, perseverance, individual responsibility, respect, and enjoyment. And so through all the activities, there's a lot of group activities and solo activities, but all the kids are trying to embody that Aspire philosophy. And as a coach, you also are supposed to and get to learn how to be a leader. And so I grew up going to the camps and then became a trainee coach and then became an actual like lead coach where you train the trainee coaches. And so it's a full like circle of getting to learn all those skills, but then also Shelly and Ikaika gives you the opportunity to give back and like share that knowledge later on as you get older and better.
That's so awesome. And you did the same thing, right?
Yeah, so I came in much later. I started working at Ikaika when I was 16 or 17, and I came in, Ikaika has a Learn to Row program as well, and before I started kayaking, I was only doing my sports through high school, so I swam and played water polo and did outrigger paddling, and then surf ski. In high school, we had like flat water surf ski races, which was kind of supposed to be an intro to sprint kayaking, but I started rowing through Ikaika because I wanted to row in college, and Shelly needed help coaching one day and came up to me and asked if I could help with their summer program or their spring break program, because all of her coaches like Collie and Knightley and Sean, who are kind of our peer and training group at home, were going to
Olympic hopes?
Yeah, no, you're going to
Oh.
trials in 2021, and so she was losing all of her coaches, so she
To go
needed
race.
someone who wasn't going to be a sprint kayaker to come in and coach. So I started coaching like a spring break academy camp, because I have experience with kids. Like I grew up going to summer camp, and I ran a daycare on Sundays, so she just kind of needed someone who was kid friendly.
And how old were you when you were both on the instructor side of Ikaika?
Well, you would have been
Because you're
what,
20 and 21. It's not like
Yeah.
you've done 80, like you've done a lot of stuff, and I'm like, you guys are 20 and 21. Like,
Yeah.
it's super impressive.
I think I must have been 16 or just turned 17 maybe when I started. So I came in like as a head coach, and then because I had like CPR and everything just to come right into it. And then I was the program director for Ikaika the summer afterwards. So I was 18 that summer.
I became a trainee coach quite young. Like I was like 12, I think. But when you're a trainee coach, like you're not getting like paid. You're learning how to become a coach. So it's basically you're training, and it's also you're not the sole person responsible for anyone. So as a 12-year-old, you're just learning and helping gather craft and making sure everybody's safe, and you might report to a real coach. So at that age, I was doing that sort of thing. And then once I was about 14, I think 14 or 15, I became like a lead coach.
What an amazing opportunity to like help young kids become very responsible, very quick, and through the Aspire kind of mantra, like how cool is that? Like I love that. Now you both mentioned this Shelly person. Who's Shelly?
Oh, I don't really know actually. Shelly is my birth giver, and she's also my coach, and she's also my best friend, and sometimes she's my one of my best friends, and she's also sometimes a training partner in the gym and all that jazz. So travel buddy, all the above.
And she started Ikaika.
She started Ikaika, yeah.
Radical, awesome. We're going to talk about Shelly and your other family members and how they all fit in. But and I met Mom the other day, your birth giver, down at Newport Aquatic Center the other day. Now, ironically, well, no, let me not go there yet because it gives stuff away. Let's do this. Let's take a step back. So we've talked about kind of where you guys met. We picked up on the friend stuff. We got some shaka going over there, making sure that you're close enough to it. Let's talk about growing up in Hawaii, and just a little bit more about. Let's start with you, Emma. So we've already got a little entree into Colley's family, but so you again born in Taiwan. But to a Canadian and American parents.
Yeah, so my parents met in Taiwan. They moved there independently. My mom is an early childhood educator by training, so she worked in preschools in Taiwan. She was born in Brazil, but her dad was a diplomat, so they moved all over the world, and she wanted to move back to Asia after she graduated and worked in Canada for a while. So she moved to Taiwan and was living there when she met my dad, who studied Chinese in university and kind of just ended up in Taiwan because he went backpacking through Asia and just decided that Taiwan was the place he wanted to be. Wow. And then they started a summer camp there together. So my brother and I were both born in Taiwan, and then we lived there until I was 8. And that's when we moved to Hawaii, which is where my dad grew up. So we moved to be closer to family.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you moved to the east side?
Yep, the east side of Oahu.
Got it. Interesting. And you're fluent in Mandarin as a result of your 8 years there, or did your family still speak it at home at all, or did you just pick it up when you were young?
Well, so Mandarin was my first language. Oh. I mean, my first words were all in Mandarin. My parents were working full-time as they were building the summer camp. So while they were building summer camp and still working in their like more professional jobs, I was just staying with the families next door. So next door in our little tiny house in the mountains of Taiwan, our neighbors ran a restaurant, and they had a bunch of kids, so I would just hang out with them during the day. And then I went to all local schools growing up. So I went to the local school with 40 kids in it. It was really, really small in our little farming village. Wow. So yeah, I spoke primarily Mandarin and to everyone else, and then with my parents I spoke English. And then when we moved back to Hawaii, I would speak Mandarin with my parents in like public settings, just kind of if we wanted to say something that was just kind of between us.
Some of us just use Pig Latin. And you guys are, right?
Yeah. So, and then my dad and I still talk a lot in Mandarin. And then through high school, just to kind of keep up, I speak pretty well still, but my reading and writing went really fast because I wasn't practicing it. So to try to get that back, I took Mandarin through high school. So
that's wise.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, what a great, not only is it a cool story, but it's to have that skill set, the ability to speak Mandarin is definitely not a bad thing, right?
Yeah, I think it's quite useful.
Yeah. I have a hard enough time with English. So that's great.
I still struggle with that too sometimes.
And then, so you moved there when you're 8, and what was life like growing up on Oahu? Just normal kid life?
Just the best. I mean, I lived in Kailua, which is on the east side of Oahu, like I said. And I went to like an elementary school nearby when I was young. So I would bike to school with all my friends. We kind of had like a pack of kids that would come through the neighborhood, and we just pick up bikers as we went. And then started going to Punahou in 7th grade. So more of a commute, but still lots of friends, and was just playing sports all through middle school and high school, and surfing on the weekends when I could, and hanging out with my brother, and going down. We live close to the beach, so going outrigger paddling or just swimming in the ocean. I think I was in the ocean almost every single day through, like, when we moved to Hawaii through high school.
That's some good living, huh?
Yeah, definitely good living.
Do you think you'll end up there?
I think long term, yes. Like, I definitely see myself living in Hawaii, and I think I want my kids to have the life that I had in Hawaii, but I think in the more short term, I want to get through university and kind of experience the world a little bit more. I've always said that I wanted to live abroad, so maybe go live somewhere else for a little bit and then eventually find my way back home.
You should. That's a great. I was on the phone, ironically, with my oldest, my son Gianni, is 21, and he's at University of Oregon, and I'm a big believer in going abroad. And I always tell him, we were talking about it truly this morning, I was like, don't come back. Like, when you go there, go as long as you can. Spend the month, like, go, because you come back to Oahu, I promise it's not very different. You come back to Newport, not much has changed. I'm
and
like,
you just go straight back into it.
You've been traveling a ton international, so we'll talk about that. But like, you learn more in a couple weeks traveling abroad than you learn in a semester at school, and it's more impactful in the rest of your life than, in my opinion, than almost anything.
100%.
So that's super cool you had that opportunity. But Hawaii, it's not a bad spot to end up or have as a goal, right?
I really, really love it. And I think even when I go home for spring break, we were just there a couple weeks ago for spring break, and it's just, nothing has changed. Like you said, it's just so easy to fall back and just go to the beach every day, and I just feel so much more grounded at home. But I think with our opportunities going abroad every summer, I hadn't been abroad before I started kayaking. To Europe. I'd been abroad, but not in Europe. And I just love being able to travel around and see kind of the rich histories that are there. So
and hang out with me.
Yeah, and hang out with Collie. But I think eventually, I want to continue my higher education in Europe at some point, go to med school there maybe, and then find my way home eventually later.
Got it. I think it's a great plan. Let me ask you a question, then we'll move over to Collie. So between the hyper-focus that you've been on paddling, you're also a D1 rower. You just told me this morning that you're no longer doing that. That was new news to me. But how were you juggling education, fun, paddling at an elite level, all the training that requires, and rowing at an elite level, and all that requires? And you still got to sleep an hour or two a day.
And take care of me.
Right? That might be a full-time job. Who knows?
It could be. No, it would be the fun job though. Through high school, I stayed really busy. I played multiple sports. Once I started working in Ikaika, I was working in Ikaika all the time. I was working on the weekends. I was working after school. I worked on the weekends at my church with my family. I was volunteering. So I think especially my senior year, I was just kind of go. And then when I got to university, I kind of chilled, which was really nice for the first time in a while. But then I kind of felt like I wasn't getting as much as I wanted to get done. And the way that my brain and body kind of works best is if I schedule everything kind of back to back, because then I feel like I get everything done, or else I'll just put it off because I am the world's worst procrastinator. So if I don't have things all the time, then I just will never do them. So I just really liked a packed schedule. But when I got to UCLA, I walked onto the rowing team, and I loved it last year.
Walking on to UCLA is rowing. Like, there's people that train their whole life to try to get on that team, and you were a walk-on.
I was a walk-on, yeah.
Wow.
They had tryouts, and I went with two of my friends who actually ended up not coming. They made the team and then kind of decided that one of them is a slalom kayaker who's on the U.S. national team as well. Her name's Rhea, and she ended up taking the rest of the year off to go pursue slalom kayaking in pursuit of the 2024 Olympic. But I stayed with it. I really liked it. I love the team. I love rowing. I loved everything about it. I loved the practices and the coaches and all my friends and everything. But it meant that I had to kind of take a step away from kayaking a little bit. So then I ended up just having to train with Collie when I could. And she ended up working with me and kind of moving our training schedule around. Usually we take Sundays as a rest day, but Collie was nice enough to help move things around. So we would come down to Newport on Sundays and train together as much as we could. We were training K2 at the time, so I was still getting a lot of, like, most of my base fitness last year came through rowing, just like lots and lots of mileage. Rowing is more mileage than kayaking will ever be. So just doing a lot of that, and then kayaking when I could.
Well, that is a skill set that will, I mean, it's interesting to say, like, I'm the worst procrastinator, so I need to
procrastinate so badly.
But you clearly don't give yourself much time to do that.
Yeah.
It's super
It's out of
interesting.
necessity.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like it's working. So kudos for you to be able to juggle all that at that high of a level.
Thank you.
And then, Collie, let's talk about you. So you go to USC, but way before that, you've already talked a bit about Akaika and your mom, but let's talk about your family, because your family dynamic is very different from a sport perspective than Emma's or many of ours. So give a little overview of your folks.
Yeah, so my whole family is actually involved in the sport, or at least has been. My dad was a coach in Australia, and my mom has also been a coach for a long time at, like, different levels, sometimes development for, like, junior athletes, and then now she's coaching the senior national team, but is the head coach of all U.S. kayaking right now, kayaking, and then there's also canoe. But and my brother is, I'll be racing actually in a boat with him, mixed K2, in about 2 months' time in Hungary. So that's our first time racing together. So it's really exciting to have him also on the World Cup team.
I didn't realize, and that's Kai.
Yeah, Kai.
And Kai I didn't realize he's also a national level paddler.
Yeah, so he's going to World Cups this year, and he also went to World Cups last year. And so it's super exciting to have it's a whole family affair. My dad will help out coaching. Like, sometimes we'll be on the water in Hawaii because my parents are there most of the time. And, like, my dad and my mom will both help out, and my brother and I will do a session. And it's like everything comes together, and it's so nice because my parents are actually separated, or they're divorced, but they've been separated for many years now. So it's cool to have everyone work together over something. Like, they're cool with each other.
Oh, that's great.
It makes it feel like, you
get some family dynamic back after all.
Yeah, totally. So it's really nice.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so you get into paddling early. Was it under duress? Like, they're like, are you going to be a paddler, or were they like, you do what you want to do?
So
like, which side were they?
I was always really serious about gymnastics. Like, I spent probably more time in the gym, or like the same amount of time in the gym as I train now, even when I was so young, like 6 years old. But that's just because gymnastics, you spend longer in the gym. But so I was kind of like in love with that. And then as I got a bit older, I wanted to start branching out a bit, and like I started to do some different sports. I like did different stuff in middle school and high school, but I started kayaking, and I went to nationals for the first time. And then on my second nationals, I got the opportunity to go to Olympic Hopes Regatta, which is like an international competition. It was my first time being technically a Team USA athlete, but you're not on the national team. You just race for the US. It's all confusing, but essentially it's an age group national team. And when I went to my first competition, I wasn't super serious about the sport yet, but I was lucky enough to make it, and I wasn't the first person on the team. I was like just scraping onto the team, and I got to go, and I was like, this is a whole world that I had no idea. Even through my parents' stories, they couldn't explain how, like, the feeling of walking to an international race course and seeing all these people from all these different places, and they're so strong and they're so amazing, and they all are in love with the same thing you're in love with. And after that competition, everything was like, all I want to do is kayak.
That was the spark.
Yeah.
Or the pivot
Completely.
point. You're like, okay, that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
Super
And my parents had told me how amazing it is. Like, my dad and my mom both were so heavily involved, and I knew they loved it, but that's what it took for me to fall in love with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit more about your parents and their exploits, because I mean, pretty like best in the world, best or darn close.
Yeah. So both my parents were great athletes. My mom went to the Olympics in the sport of sprint kayaking for Australia 2 times, so once in 1996 and once in 2000. And my dad has done a variety of sports growing up. He played I don't want to butcher this, Australian football, Australian rugby league, all
Australian
of the above.
rules football?
Yes.
Got it. There's so many different little iterations of rugby, right? I know, I got it.
And he loved that, and he also did a lot of triathlon, and then he does still avid paddler and surf ski paddler, and still gives me a run for my money on the water. He's like a really good training partner. But he also coached even my mom, but at a very high level in Australia before we moved to America. He also coached the U.S. national team previously too. So
Wow.
a mix of coaching and being athletic for both of them, but they're always inspiring me. So yeah.
And are they a positive coaching mindset, or are they like the whip
Oh
cracker
my
style?
gosh. They are so the first one. Like
They're
my
the positive.
mom. Yeah, I'm around my mom a lot, and I'm really lucky when I do get coached by my dad, and he's also very positive, but my mom tends to come on the trips because she's the national team coach, so I'm around her a lot more when I'm competing and stuff. And she is just like an absolute ball of positivity. And actually, we have like things that in coaching, like when we learn to do ikaika coaching, as well as when we're at training, these things called doo-doos. And basically, and it makes all the kids go, "Wah, ha, 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 ha."
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but it's basically.
I was giggling when you said that.
It's basically I
You
try really hard.
you only speak in a positive manner. So rather than saying don't run, you say please walk, because then it's emphasizing what you should be doing rather than focusing on not doing, because the idea there is like neurologically, if you say don't do something, you're focusing
It's a
on
negative reinforcer.
I shouldn't be running instead of running I should be walking, and it takes too long to get there. So just speaking positively all the time is the way to go.
And even when she has corrections for us, like to fix things, it's always what we should do. She's never like, oh, you're still doing that, that's bad. Like, we don't get corrections like that. There's always a format of like, think about what you should be doing so you can focus on what to do rather than what not to do that's in your head. And then we also focus a lot on self-talk, and like mental methods to have confidence when you're lining up. Like in the days before, it's very important to feel good and know what you can do, think about your training, rather than thinking about what could go wrong. Oh, I don't like these conditions. And like, so we do a lot of focus on that as well.
It's one of the things I was definitely going to bring up later, because
Yeah.
when I was like the mental fortitude, the mental training, all of that, the positive, that's a different tilt. When your parents were probably grown up racing and training and stuff, it was a whip crack.
Yeah.
It was pure fitness. And if you aren't fast, you suck. I mean, it was not the doo-doo strategy.
Yeah.
Right? I always say it, and I think I love hearing that about the way your folks coach and the way you guys have learned to based on that. But I always say you remember your best coach and your worst coach, whether it's coach, teacher, whatever. Everybody in the middle is kind of vanilla. I've said it on here 18 times, but the best coach is the ones that you hopefully emulate and pick up all the traits from, and the worst coach you're going to learn maybe just as much from. I never want to feel the way that guy or that woman made me feel. I'm never going to do that to anybody else, right? That's awesome. That's amazing. Amazing also is your mom got a chance in the Sydney Olympics to run with the torch.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Looking at the photos of
How
her
crazy
running
is
the
that?
torch
So
through
cool.
Manly, which is our hometown, is like everyone's dream about the Olympics. And when she tells me like the feeling, and also lets me put on her like jacket, and we have the torch in like our bathroom at home, and it's like so funny because I think nothing of it now. I always walked past that and like
Oh, hold on.
whenever-
You just said you have the torch at home? That
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And she lets
You have like a plant growing out of it?
no, it just sits there. I mean, it has a little holder.
They were
and
drinking beer. You guys were drinking it was like a beer bong. Right?
It's cool because actually, like, you can see where it was like burned. Like, it was the one that I
Wow.
lit. Yeah, but it's
So cool.
Like, yeah, and she lets the kids at Ikaika run around with it, and she gives all like the jackets from when you go to competitions. You trade with the international teams, jerseys or jackets. So she has all these jackets from Mexico, Germany, all these countries from everywhere. I couldn't even start to name everywhere. But she puts all the kids in them, and then we do a little like play Olympic ceremony. And these kids, I didn't realize when I was younger how crazy it is to be holding the Olympic torch, and you have no idea what it means and like what kind of work goes into getting something like that. Right. But it's really cool to look back and appreciate what I had before that I didn't appreciate, and how inspiring it is for me now to have like experienced that and gotten to meet so many Olympians through my mom, and through even being at NAC is like that. Like you don't know who's in the room. You'll talk to someone, and then later someone will be like, oh, do you know who that is? And I'm like, no, tell me. And they're like, oh, they went to 3 Olympics. They did this, they did that. And you're like, oh, now I really better remember what they said.
I tell people all the time, I mean, you're surrounded by ex-Olympic, ex-medalists, lots of national, and like it's an extremely high level down there. And again, everybody gets older and whatever, but I mean,
Yeah.
I paddle with the Willie group. Willie was in 2 Olympics,
Yeah.
and there's a lot, you'll like the list is so long of people. They're just normal folks down there.
And they're so lovely. And
Yeah,
they don't
lovely.
even, so unassuming. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that you can talk to so many of them, and even talking to you the first time, it was like, oh, you just casually had the 4x4x48 shirt on.
Oh, the Goggins.
And you did, the David Goggins shirt. And you didn't even talk about half the stuff that you do. Like, we walked away not knowing that you do crazy long paddles in the morning, or like what your daily schedule is like, or even something like this. Like, we would have never known, because you wouldn't just be like, blah, 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 this is all the things I do that are amazing and crazy. And
Should I give you the list? Let me get the list up.
but there's like, it's crazy to be so around so many people that are just so humble, but do such amazing things, but are willing to share their knowledge.
For sure.
You just have to find out first
Yeah.
who they are.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in like humble hammers, like which you too, right? How good would it feel if you were in your mom's or your parents' shoes and you had one of those Olympic jackets in your closets that your kids put on 30 or 25 years from now? Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
Right?
So amazing.
I hope you guys get that chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're going for it. I think you're going to get it. So,
Thank you.
Thanks.
pretty amazing. I mean, let's go into that. Like, well, let's go back to. I'm going to focus on school. I'm so easily distracted. I want to keep going down the Olympic topic. We will get back to it. School. I mean, you guys are working your tails off on all the sports stuff, but there's this thing called school that you're also doing.
I'm
That
not.
old thing.
Yeah, you took
Right
a
now?
look. Let's talk about it. What are you doing instead? Tell us what you're doing.
So I took the year off this past year, and I love school. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy being at USC. I love what I'm learning, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be there. And I will go back.
And what's your focus at school before you tell us why you're pivoting?
I'm doing real estate development and then also business administration, but I have an emphasis that I haven't chosen yet.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what year are you at school?
I'm going into my junior year.
Gotcha.
So I took my middle between the sophomore and junior year. But I took a break from school because I've always wanted to study abroad, and I did study abroad in high school, but well, kind of. I studied in Australia in high school. So however that counts as abroad.
Sure
But
it does.
yeah. But I really wanted to focus on the sport, and I think through school the programs like weren't super suitable to me needing to live at like a training center, and also maybe having to train full time and like not have time for classes in between. And so basically I was super lucky to like, my mom was in like full support when I was like, I really think I want to like go for it this year. Like, I'm feeling really passionate about it now. I had times where I totally was like, didn't feel in love. I think I was always in love with the sport, but I would go to training and I didn't feel that like, oh, I'm so excited to get on the water. I was like, I'm doing this because I am a kayaker, not because I'm super excited right now. Whereas now, even when I'm tired, even when it's hard, it's like, I'm so grateful to be there because I got this chance to like really work at it and see myself improve, and I didn't feel like I was doing that before so much. So made a change. Nothing changes if nothing changes, right?
Yeah.
So took some time off, and I went and spent time. First we had competitions, so we were in Germany and then in Paris and then Italy. And then I went back to Germany.
Casual.
I love it.
I went back to Germany for about 2 and a bit months, and I trained with a coach I had met in Italy, and it was kind of a spur-of-the-moment decision, and one of the best decisions I've ever made. I got to see a completely new like training regime, train with Olympians alongside me, like world's medalists, and all these people that like I like fangirl over, and they're just super casual, don't even know that I think of them that way. And I got to learn from Coach Joe, who is like, even still we keep in touch, and he's so supportive, but he coaches the German national team, which didn't make sense to me, but the international community in paddling is so supportive. It's like, it's awesome how people treat you. Yes, like you're from your country and you are representing your country, but as an individual, we all want to improve, and like everyone gets that, you know? So got to spend a few months there, and then I came to Chile with Emma. We got to meet up, have a
Dang.
bestie reunion. Then
Long
I went to
distance was
Australia.
hard for us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, long distance relationships. Yeah, it's tough.
It's hard for us.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then I spent a few months in Australia, about 3. And then I came back to Hawaii, and now we're here basically. So that was like the school year made up. There's weeks in Hawaii and California in between there for training camps and stuff. But
It sounds
that
a
was
lot
major.
more fun than a year at school in LA. I'm just going to say, I mean, USC is USC, but I mean, come on. If you
Yeah.
can travel the world and meet people everywhere, that's what life's all about. If you can
Yeah.
do that, like I was talking about Gianni, like, and my daughter Mia, like, go, do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do what you guys are doing.
I
It's
even
amazing.
remember seeing you. I think we were here for, I think it was in November. I don't know, but I saw you or at some point while I was doing it. And I had said like, oh, I took a year off school. And some people go, oh, you need to stay on track. Like, don't let this sport that makes no money distract you from what's really important. And you didn't act like that at all. You were like, wow, that's great. Go do the thing. Like,
Do it.
go and adventure
100%.
and take this opportunity. And I was like, oh, sometimes I need to hear that because I know I wanted to do it. But sometimes it's hard when like people you look up to have differing perspectives. So it was really nice to hear you say that when I did see you.
Liz, I appreciate that, but I mean, I'm such a believer in it. And, you know, it's interesting. In America, we always say, like, if there's a gap on your resume, like, were you in jail? No. But if you travel, you're going to meet Australians and Germans and Canadians all over the world, and they're
Yeah.
all over the world, and they're traveling for months, if not years.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's super important, and it's not looked upon badly, and people don't question it. Here, it's
Yeah.
like, all right, you graduated college, your job starts tomorrow. And
Yeah.
you're like, no, go play. Like, go take some time. I love that you guys are doing that. It's going to lead us there, but I want to know, Emma, about school.
Gosh. I'm at UCLA, like you said. I'm studying physiological science with a minor in neuroscience. So
You guys are such
Very-
underachievers. I just got to say it again. My goodness.
yeah, we try our best. But yeah, very science heavy. I've always loved science. I think just the brain is super fascinating. I came into UCLA with the intention of just studying neuroscience, but I think as I got to school and kind of took kayaking to the next level, I really wanted to study something that I could apply to every aspect of my life. And I'm still so fascinated by the brain and how the brain affects us as humans and as athletes. But I've kind of taken more of a physiological science route with it just because I'm more interested in physiology, and I'm finding the things that I'm learning in my classes are really applicable to my life as an athlete, which I think is really interesting because then I'm more motivated to learn about it and then I retain the information more. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at. I'm really loving school. I mean, there's definitely hard classes, but
You're a smart cookie, though.
What year are you?
I'm a sophomore this
You're a
year.
sophomore.
Yeah.
Magic wand. So I think I picked up from you with real estate and business administration. We know what you're like. That's a real estate development, such.
Yeah, really.
Property management, whatever it may
Yeah.
be. Magic wand today. Like, what would your profession be?
Oh my gosh, I want to work with a professional sports team. So eventually, like after I graduate from my undergrad, I want to take some time off and go explore the world, like Collie's doing right now, and just kind of focus on sprint kayaking. And then eventually, I want to be a doctor, so go to medical school. And then magic wand, I would work for like a rugby team or a hockey team or an NFL team, something like that.
All those cute guys
yeah.
to work on, right?
I mean, I think
Collie will come visit. We can-
No. I've got myself a German
Oh, there you
athlete.
yeah, I mean, I would love to work with female athletes, ideally, but unfortunately, there aren't that many professional leagues for women, at least within the U.S. I think internationally, there's a little bit more reach, but yeah,
Got
I
it.
think.
Well, I think that's also changing, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe by the time I'm there, that'll
Yeah.
be all good.
Yeah, you got a little bit of work ahead of you with that.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. You guys, it's awesome. Are you guys sacrificing anything through this?
My short answer is no, but I think in terms of other people's perspectives, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry
Like,
about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then no. Like, it doesn't feel like a sacrifice, but it's definitely a totally different daily routine from, like, most of the people I started college with and that I love. And, like, my friends from home, like, a lot of times I can't be at a lot of the things that, like, I would have, loved to do, but you love, like, what you're doing
This
and where you
life
are a little
more.
bit more, like, a little
Yeah.
bit more. And, like, it takes the day in, day out decisions like that to get to have the opportunities to travel later on. So even though it's like morning training, you have to go to bed earlier, so you can't go out to dinner that night or go out wherever it is, and you don't even consider it. It's like it doesn't feel like a sacrifice in that moment because you know that you want to be there the next morning. So,
Yeah.
and that's more important.
How What about your take on sacrifice? Do you feel like you're sacrificing anything, or is it similar answer?
I think similar to Collie. I think the only times I really think about it is when I meet people or like my peers at college will say like, oh, but you can't go party or you can't go do this thing. And I don't think about those things on a daily basis, but then I only really think about them when they bring it up. But like you said, it doesn't really matter what they're thinking anyways. But I mean, I think there have definitely been times when there have been events that come up and I really feel like in the moment I really want to go to them, and I'll kind of go to bed and be like, oh, this is such a bummer. Like I can hear, well, right now I live next to a frat, so my apartment building is immediately next to Sig Ep. Shout out Sig Ep. And they party every single night of the week. Yeah. So my bedroom, like from my bedroom window, I can see into the party. So it kind of feels like I'm there every night anyways. And that's kind of enough partying for me. But I think in hindsight, like I know that there's been times when I've gone to bed and thought like, oh, I can't be out with my friends right now, or I really want to be at this thing. But now that I'm sitting here in this moment and trying to think of specific examples, I can't think of a single specific example of something that I've missed.
But you could totally remember competing in Europe with me, right?
Exactly. But I'll remember that forever. So I think
they're not going to remember. You're going to remember competing. They're not going to remember what they did on Thursday night.
Exactly. So I think, I think the sacrifice is all worth it.
Awesome. Well, I think that, I mean, when you talk about it from a passion standpoint, you can't, in my opinion, you can't do what you guys do at the level that you're doing it unless you truly love it. Like I look at pro athletes, pro surfers, whatever. You look at Kobe and all the people that really mastered their sport. You have to live it if you want to be at that level. Yeah. And you can always party when you're 30 years old or whatever. You know, yes.
I think there's something to be said about like in this sport specifically, as well as with all those greats that like are actually really well known because they do a sport that's like covered in media.
And they can make money.
And they can make money. I was going to say is that there's no money. And so when you meet people, and like Emma, you also inspire me to be able to continue on this path and have passion, because not only like do we both have to make those decisions, but we can make the decision to have a sleepover together and go to bed at 8 p.m. And so it makes it that much more enjoyable. But I know you're doing it just because you love it. We're not in it for money. We're never there because we have to be there. Like even our coaches are all there because they love it and they want to help. And we're there because we love it and we just want to be better.
Yeah.
And there's no feeling of like, oh, I won't get a paycheck if I'm not here. Like, yes, sometimes there's opportunities on the line, but you only want those opportunities so you can do more paddling. Right. So really at the
core of
it all. The core of everything is just like pure passion for the sport and everyone getting better or helping others get better.
Well, you have to, I guess, and just kind of elaborate on that. Like, kayaking is not an NCAA sport.
Unfortunately.
There's no NIL funds. You're not going to, right? Like, it is a passion play for sure. Mm-hmm. Rowing, like, it's funny. So I had Kelly and Will in here, and I had commented, like, I was talking about NAC and the number of young athletes that come in there and go the rowing path and scholarship to all the best schools in the country through rowing. And I said it's probably one of the most scholarship-based facilities in California.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
If not wider.
It's amazing to see.
Yeah. And then I said, and then rowing, there's less. And Will goes, less. There's zero.
Paddling.
Yeah,
paddling.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what did I say? Paddling. There's zero.
Yeah.
It is a travesty. So still, Olympic level, harder to get in because it's a bummer. For so many reasons, it would be great if athletes in America, Olympic athletes in America, unless they're going into a basketball, football, etc., oftentimes have no support, and they're working side jobs. Like different countries, not that way, right? You know that better than me.
Well, the sports here mostly aren't government funded, and so in a lot of other countries they are, and so it's also tough because yes, it's different, and like there's different rules for other countries. Like we also do have so much freedom. Like the fact that I can just take a year off and train in these other countries is something that people in other countries might not be able to do. But also then there's like the financial side of having to support yourself and train and race, and then also competing against people who don't have to do that. Yeah. Some of them do in other countries, but there's other avenues, and here there's like no option. But I wouldn't have it a different way. Like I'm still grateful to be in my position 100%.
Awesome. Well, one of the questions I had was fun. I asked about sacrifice, and there's the training, and we can talk about nutrition. We can go down all those roads. Yeah. Because I know you have a favorite chicken place close by.
Chicken shop.
The chicken shop, right? Props. What about like injuries? Have you guys had to deal with injuries at all? Have you had challenges? I mean, when you're performing at this level, when you're training this hard, I mean, from your gym workouts, which I've seen, like, again, I think I mentioned over coffee, like, I'm a pull-up guy, and I will not challenge you guys to pull-up competition.
Tell me Collie. Collie's like the pull-up queen.
Secret
They're
weapon.
my favorite ones.
Yeah.
That's my favorite exercise. But go on, tell us about anything.
I mean, I think with any sports, there's an injury risk. I think kayaking, we are lucky, is probably one of the like
lowest
impact. Yeah, I think just being on the water, like the impact on water is much lower than running, and there's no physical contact if you're doing it right. But yeah, there is still injury risk. I mean, with any sport, like overdoing things is very real, and there's like a very fine line between training hard and training too hard. And I mean, last year I had tendonitis in my bicep and my deltoid, which took me off the water. It ended my rowing season last year, so I didn't get to go race in the final races of the year, which I was really bummed about. But I think in hindsight, it kind of came at the perfect time. It came right after trials. So I think there was this big buildup of like, we were going to a lot of rowing regattas, and I was also training for kayaking, and I was trying to re-qualify for the U.S. national team. And then I was off the water when I was in the middle of a rowing race. I was stroking the boat, and 500 meters into our 2,000 meter race, I just fell.
Done for.
Yeah, I was done for, but you can't stop. So you just keep going. And I know that there's 7 super powerful girls behind me, and I just got to kind of keep the pace and hope that they'll carry me through the finish line.
How'd you guys do in that race?
We won the race, actually.
Okay.
So it was
7 really strong women.
Yeah, 7 really strong women and a powerful little coxswain at the front. But yeah, I came through, like, after that race, I couldn't move my arm at all. And for the next week, I couldn't move my arm above my head. Like, I was just in so much pain. And it's still something that I have to work with. Like, tendonitis doesn't just go away. No. You have to keep kind of nursing it forever, or it feels like forever. Yeah. But I mean, with the right support, I talked to my physio and I talked to my doctors and everything, and just kind of was able to navigate around it.
So let's talk about you a little bit more, because how did you handle the load between rowing and kayak? So you're going backwards, frontwards, all the gym workout, different coaches, all the requirements. Like, how did you do that?
It took a lot of planning. Like, when I walked onto the team.
No, let's not talk organizing. Let's talk physically ability to do both.
God, I was just tired all the time. I mean, the biggest thing was UCLA has amazing resources for their student athletes. So just going in and making sure I was really like seeing the trainer. I was probably the most frequent visitor of our athletic trainers. So getting cupping and making sure I was eating. Like, I visited our nutritionist all the time, making sure I was eating properly and doing all of the recovery things and doing rollouts and doing the Normatec boots. And I think I was kind of go last year, and I lacked on certain things. Like, I definitely didn't stretch enough, and that's things that I learned last year. I'm kind of implementing more into my routine now. So my warm-up routine is much longer. I meditate, we do yoga. So just kind of on the physicality side of things, I guess I just recovery is big.
Did any of the recovery is really big? Again, we never used to think about recovery ever, or headspace or any of those. Was any of that? We didn't talk about the fact that you stepped away from rowing. Was that part of it based on this, or your desires in kayak, or?
I mean, in my ideal world, I would still be doing both. I love rowing a lot, which I wasn't expecting to. But when I was in high school, I wanted to row in college, and I had never rowed before. But I talked to a bunch of universities and kind of gave them my resume just as a paddler and as a kayaker. And I went on a bunch of official visits. I think if you had asked me in my senior year, at the beginning of my senior year of high school, I would have told you that I was going to go to Colgate University and rowed there, and kayaking wasn't even in my sights. But then I started sprint kayaking, and like the way that Collie fell in love with kayaking at a competition, I went to Junior Worlds in Portugal in 2021 and just completely fell in love with it. So then when I got the opportunity to row at UCLA, I took it because I really wanted to just experience that. But in October of last year, 2023, Collie and I went to the Pan American Games. And I think leading up to that, the fall is rowing's off season. So I talked to my coaches, and they gave me the off season away from rowing. So I took all online classes and I just trained 100% for kayaking in Hawaii with the intention of coming back to rowing in like as soon as the competition was over. But then I think just after giving 100% to kayaking, which I'd never done before. I had
Collie's celebrating over here.
I've never given 100% to kayaking before this year because I've always been doing, like through high school, I was doing other sports and kayaking was just kind of a morning practice thing. And then even last year I was rowing at the same time. And once I gave 100% to kayaking, I started getting faster. And I really realized how much I wanted to give into it to achieve the level of kayaking that I wanted to. And so that's when I kind of had a conversation with my coaches and took a step back. But I'm really excited for Collie to come back to school next year because then we get to live together and we get to train together and just be 100% all in.
I love it. So is this the first time you've ever been able to give 100% towards a sport?
Yeah.
You may not have realized that before. Like I always said, like I'm 100% everything I do, but that's not real. It's not true.
Yeah, that's how the way I am. I mean, I think through high school, I loved water polo and I loved outrigger paddling and I loved surf ski paddling. And I think in my head, I gave 100% and physically I gave 100% to all of those, but balancing all of them all at the same time was really difficult. And now that I'm 100% in kayaking, like I've been able to see how much better I can get and just kind of really dialing into all of the little things has been really cool. So
awesome. Well, you've already talked about headspace and the mental game and the importance, and you guys definitely planned it. You just talked about yoga, meditation, all of that stuff, and it's so important. And again, even a dozen years ago, you wouldn't hear people talking about it to the degree that it's such a core part of sport and success now and recovery and all these things. Again, it used to be you just went hard. Like back in my days, again, I was never at your level, but you just went hard, more miles, more weights, more time. And if you don't do well, that's your fault. There was, and you wonder why we were always injured, why we were always burned out, right? In all kinds of sports. So it's really cool. And then couple that with it's really interesting because having the D1 experience at UCLA and all the resources you just talked about.
It's amazing.
And then you go over to kayak at the same level, if not higher, on the world stage, and you got nothing. And I was talking to you, I'm like,
we're starting to get some bits and pieces, though.
Good.
Leading into, I think it's because of the 2028 games, they're starting to have some resources available to us, which is really helpful. But
we're so appreciative for every little bit that we get.
Whoever I'm talking to, please hear
whoever you're out there.
But it's again, and I guess it shines a light on the fact that you're still able, you and all the other athletes in these non-supported sports are doing it out of passion and love, working just as hard and doing it on a shoestring budget and putting coaches together and nutrition together.
I do have to say that Billy is a huge help to us.
Billy Whitford,
so
NAC.
amazing.
And he is an absolute support system for us that we didn't even really ask for in the beginning. He just has been an absolute savior for us being able to have just us two down there, or down at NAC, but now we have more people coming. We have more people pursuing the sport through college, and it's because of him, because of the program in Hawaii. We're these people aren't being paid by the U.S. Olympic Committee or getting paid to have us training there or to connect us with people that inspire us, but they just do because they love the community. They want to help, and so luckily we may not have all the things that UCLA has for their students, but we do have a lot of great people out there that want to help. So.
Hallelujah. Well, let's talk about Newport Aquatic Center because you guys could hypothetically paddle anywhere, but you're here a lot, driving, whatever. How's that been as a resource for you? And I think you were talking about maybe even moving down here next year, right?
Yeah, we'll be here next year. I mean, so in Collie's first year of college, I was still a senior in high school, but she was paddling out of Marina Del Rey mostly, and that's kind of where I'm paddling out of now. But it's much closer for me at UCLA. From UCLA to Marina Del Rey is about a 15-minute, 20-minute drive, versus UCLA to Newport Aquatic Center with no traffic is an hour, with traffic is 7.
Yes.
That's an exaggeration,
8,
but
right.
But I mean, realistically, it does take, yesterday I drove down through kind of light afternoon traffic and it took me about 2 hours. But Marina Del Rey is super concentrated with UCLA's men and women's rowing teams and LMU's rowing teams, and there's some high school rowing teams, so the water isn't as ideal to train on because it's not as big. So I'm just constantly fighting the wake of the boats, and I'm just by myself up there versus at NAC, even on the days where I'm the only sprint kayaker going out, there's always other people around NAC, and just super supportive. Like everyone kind of knows everyone down there, and even if you don't, you go up and introduce yourself to someone. The water is super ideal to paddle on. There's so many little canals that we can go into to escape the wake of the rowers or whoever else is out there. And the gym is just perfect for all of the weird little kayaking things that we need to do.
So I think that's super funny. I just have to comment on the gym. That's
the funkiest gym of all time.
But Newport Aquatic Center is my home away from home. I always call it, it's part of the triangle of my life. My house, my office, and NAC. I'm there all the time. I saw you guys there this morning, yesterday, and I met your mom there the other day. And the gym is not a world-class, beautiful gym, but it gets the job done, and it has for decades for a lot of people, and the equipment is old, but you can get what you need done.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no,
Well.
totally. I think that it's better.
And you can do a lot of pull-ups in there.
You
right?
can do a lot of pull-ups, multiple pull-up bars, weight belts. You don't even have to bring your own. But the bench pull is what gets us coming down there. Also, I have to say that for me, like, I don't know about the convenience and stuff, but I come down to Newport just for the community and the bench pull.
Yeah.
And the chicken shop.
And the chicken shop. That's so true. So those three things.
That's our triangle.
That's very funny.
Yeah. But yeah, they've got the seated cable row, which isn't like, it's good for us to do exactly the kayak motion. The bench pull is not something that's in commercial gyms. And even though the equipment is sometimes like a little bit rusty or a little bit whatever, it's perfect.
Gets
Gets the
job
job
done.
Like
done.
a chip out of the plate,
Yeah.
so you're not sure if it actually weighs 45 pounds
It's
or like 43.
Yes, We get it done there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. Listen, I love NAC, and I can talk about it all day long because it promotes and provides for all kinds of people from all over the world come to train. If we have the people from Europe that are training here in the winter when it's frozen over there, we've got people that come down.
Yeah.
We've talked about all like the camaraderie there and all the ex-Olympic folks that call it home. So it's just super high caliber and super supportive. So kudos.
I feel like I learn something new every time I'm down at NAC, which is probably my favorite thing about it. Like like you were saying, all those European kayakers, like I trained with the Swedes while they were here, and even though they're guys and way faster than me, like they were super welcoming, and I got to kind of hop on their wash as much as I could and hang on to them. And like the Slovaks are here, and just learning something new and how they train and what kind of boats they use and what kind of paddles they're using and everything is just really, really cool.
Super cool. Well, listen, that's kind of led us to, you've talked about elite level sports and training and all this. Let's talk about what's next for you two. I know, Collie, you've got something coming up. Let's talk about what you had a race, some pretty important races just recently, what they mean and what you have coming up.
Yeah, so we both just raced at trials, and we both were on the national team for this year. Because I was lucky enough to race K2 with Elena, and we won the trials, we will be going to race for the Olympic spot in 11 days in Sarasota, Florida. And so pressure's on.
Yeah.
But
Hold, deep breath. I can deep breath.
I only realized it was 11 days like before I walked in here. But it's so exciting to be there like sooner than I thought I would. Like 2028 is the main goal for us two, for Elena and for some other of our teammates. Like we're all really young in the sport. The peaking age is much later on. And so for us to have this opportunity coming up so soon is so exciting.
So let's talk about that real quick. Sarasota, Florida, in 11 days. What has to happen for you to make the Olympic team?
Yeah. So
you're talking about maybe making the Olympic team at 21 years old.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's amazing. Okay, what has to happen?
Basically, we're racing the K2 500, and it's first gets to go to the Olympics. We're racing all the Pan American countries. So we already went to the U.S. trials and got the spot for America. So basically, we have to race no one else from America anymore.
You're the number one American K2 500 meter in the country.
I'm number 2 in the K1 500, and then I'll also get to race K4 with Emma, and then I'll also get to race the K1 200, which the K4 and the K1 200 are non-Olympic events, but it's the Pan American champs. So you still have the opportunity to get a ranking in all the Pan American countries, but those races won't be Olympic qualification.
Got it.
Yeah.
But so you have to go to the Olympics, you have to win. It's win or nothing.
It's win or nothing.
Damn, no pressure.
To be fair,
that's incredible.
This is like the last chance qualifier. So at Worlds, if you come top 6, you could have gone.
Last year.
Yeah,
World's
last year.
2023.
Okay. Super complicated
It's
qualifying.
so
Yeah, it's
complicated.
so-
but
we don't need to go
basically-
into it.
Yeah.
You need
Basically,
to,
you have to win.
You've
We
gotta
have to
win.
win in 11 days. If we win, we can go to the Olympics. If we don't, we'll
We'll
start
go for the
training for
next one.
2028.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a no lose, but it sure would be nice to win.
It
So good
sure-
luck on
oh my
that.
gosh.
It'll be really
It would be
exciting
so
to
nice.
go. Yeah.
So 2028 is for the next 11 days, you have one focus.
Yes.
It's to win that race.
Yes.
After that, your focus may go to summer in Paris, or it goes to 2028 in Los Angeles, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but even without that race, like whether we win or lose, there's other competitions like U23 Worlds, which I'll go to regardless of Paris or not. And then there's World Cups, which maybe if I was going to Paris, I don't know. But anyway, there's like a bunch of other international competitions this season that Paris or no Paris will still be happening.
Got
Like
it.
Senior Worlds at the end of the summer. I think Emma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rad.
So, yeah, there's all these other opportunities, but obviously in my head, all I can think is that race for
You
now.
got one goal for
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Wow. And has the Olympics always been a goal for you too, or did it pop up once you committed to? I mean, did you have to quit rowing to find this kind of, or is that why you quit rowing so you could focus on the Olympics in 28?
I think,
24.
I mean, my whole life, the Olympics hasn't been a goal. I mean, I've always wanted to be the best at whatever I'm doing, but focusing primarily on outrigger paddling. There is no outrigger paddling in the Olympics when I was younger, so, and it wasn't really in my realm of thought, really, until I started sprint kayaking. But after I went to Portugal when I made my first U.S. national team, it kind of became more real and more like something that I thought about more often. But prior to me rowing at UCLA, I knew that I wanted to go to the Olympics. But I knew that, like, because 2028 has always kind of been my goal, I just will have the experience and kind of the time in the boat and the age, I think, hopefully. So I committed to rowing because I thought that it would be something that I could do now that I probably won't be able to do later and would enhance my athletics rather than kind of take away from it. But yeah.
Super interesting.
For me, I would say it has kind of always been a goal from the way my mom has talked about it since I was a child. It's the second best thing that ever happened to her besides having Kai and I. Even though
She makes that very clear, right?
yeah. Sometimes she slips up and says that
No,
it's
that's
one of
fine.
the best things that ever happened to her. But I know.
She's like, I've got my
yeah.
my torch over there. I've got right, my jacket from the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
you guys come first. I'm sure.
yeah. And she does make that very clear, especially as a coach, we make that separation. But I think it always has been a goal. It wasn't always in kayaking. However, I've had such an internal tussle with like the Olympics being the be-all, end-all, and it puts so much pressure on this end result. And so I think, yes, the Olympics is totally the goal in terms of results, but each day I don't show up because I want to go to the Olympics. That's always going to be something I want to do, but I show up because I want to be that 1% better.
Yeah.
Or I want to just be better than yesterday. And if I don't go to the Olympics in 24, I'm still excited to be paddling. I'm still excited to get to race with Emma, with Elena, with all these, be coached by my mom. And it's not like it's a waste of time.
Understood.
So
Yeah.
it's really hard to put all this pressure on that one goal because hopefully we will reach it. And it's not a cop-out to not be.
No.
Like, you're focused on the Olympics, but each day
Yeah.
you have to be there for you, not because of this one thing that it could get canceled. Like, it really
Yeah.
realized that in 2020 when it was like, the Olympics could just get moved. And, like,
Well, and this is,
Life goes on.
But this is,
Yeah.
I think, exactly what we were talking about from the mindset training.
Yeah.
It's so important to have that outlook because if all you do is focus on that one thing, you don't get it, then what's the meaning of my life? Have I
Yeah.
wasted all my time? So
Yeah.
so really pivoting and recognizing I'm into it because I love it every day.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be here. I want to compete. I want to be paddling with Emma. I want to be going
Yeah.
traveling the world and like that's the way. I think that's the wisest way. And then you also go, regardless of what happens, because God only knows
Yeah.
what happens. I still get to go paddle. I get to go home and paddle
Yeah.
Molokai. I get to
Yeah,
go do
exactly.
like you have such a long life ahead of so many
Yeah.
rad, amazing things, and you never know what that's going to look like.
yeah.
But we still hope that you make it.
Yeah.
So
That's
good luck in
definitely
11
still
days.
the goal.
Thank you.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Ladies, we're coming near the end. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Do you have superpowers that you think help power you or help you with any of this? Like,
Yeah.
because not everybody can or will or wants. Like people, well, Mark, why do you paddle the channel? I love that. Like, I would never, like, not everybody can, will, or wants to do what you're doing. Is there superpowers that help drive you to this level, or?
Go for it.
Okay, I think 2 things is gratitude, and now I forgot.
Gratitude's a really good one.
Yeah, but just learning. So taking everything as a learning lesson, and also being grateful for being out there, but like sometimes things get hard, and it's so much easier to focus on why you're happy that you get to be there moving, even when it hurts. Like, you'd much rather be in that position than the opposite, which wouldn't be able to do what you love and not doing it with the people you love. And so I think that when you're waking up at the crack of dawn and you're driving to Newport at 3:30 a.m. and to get there for a Willy session or something like that, maybe not that early, but waking up
Sometimes
so
that early.
yeah, you're thinking, oh, I'm so glad I get to do this. I get to go to a university that I've always wanted to go to. I get to paddle with like-minded people that inspire me, that have done such amazing things, and at this hour, so I can get back and do my classes that I love to learn from, and thinking that way rather than, gosh, I really don't want to get out of bed right now. Like, that doesn't help anyone. So I think the superpower to keep going, and I think a lot of people have this superpower. It's not unique to me. I mean, I know that you would have this as well, and I know Emma has it going on in her head, is definitely like the gratitude and learning instead of being negative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah, I agree with Collie. I think I've always done water sports my whole life. Like, all of the sports that I did in high school connected me to the water or the ocean in some way, and I think it's not my superpower, but the ocean gives me powers, I guess. Like, I feel way more grounded when I'm near the ocean and near water, and I feel like way better about all the things that I'm doing. Like, even at home when I have a rough day, or here when I have a rough day, I'll just kind of go down to the beach, and just sitting on the beach or like being connected to the water makes me feel so much more grounded to the things that I'm doing and the things that I'm looking forward to, and kind of just really resets me. So I think just being around the water, even like when Collie said the sessions are hard, I can kind of just put my paddle down, and in between sets, sometimes I'll just put my paddle down and like feel the water, and that just kind of keeps me going, makes me feel way better.
Yeah, so I can definitely speak to the power of the water, power of the ocean.
Yeah.
Let me say a couple things. So first, I hope you I don't know if you would, the thoughts that you guys just both shared, and the gratitude in learning, and the embracing the water and the sports, and the healing or whatever that comes from that. Like, those are things that I hope you keep with you forever, because all the traits that you two employ, from the determination and the work ethic and the organization and the willingness to do all this stuff, like, these are traits that will take you wherever you want to go in life, no matter what. Not far from sport, and far from 20 and 21 years old aiming for, like, it's really cool to see and super refreshing. But I'm just super proud of you guys, and it's rad to watch where you're going. Again, and it goes, I think the other lesson, as I said, was like, you never know who's in the room, and you never know what they're going through, good or bad, and you never know what they're capable of. And so I love the Ikaika mantra of aspire, and the things like, so you have so many tools and tactics working for you, between the way your parents coach and all the interactions you guys have together. I just love watching just you two together. It's super cool. So just super, super, super cool. I wish you nothing but the best. I can't wait to watch you win that friggin' race. No pressure from me, and if not, we're gonna watch you guys do it in 28, and you're gonna have all kinds of fun between now and then, with all kinds of international travel and races and good stuff.
So much fun. I think if Collie and I are in a room together, we're almost always having fun. Yeah. Fun is like the name of the game with us.
Well, especially important when you're doing hard stuff, and you make hard stuff fun. It's not as hard, right?
It's true.
So listen, ladies, super proud of you. Thank you so much.
You.
Good luck with everything.
For having us.
Yeah, thank
My
you so
pleasure.
much.
Super fun. And keep inspiring, and keep going super hard, and keep smiling and giggling and having a good time. Is there any last words? Is there anything that would be fun to say to people out there about, going hard or chasing dreams, or?
Oh boy, I don't know. I just really want to say thank you for you, to you for having us, but also for all the people that support us. If anyone is watching this that they know they support us, there's too many people to start listing names, but in big and small ways, there's a lot of people that sometimes don't even know that are inspiring us, are keeping us coming down to NAC because of their friendly face, or are helping us by
Giving us food.
Chicken chop. And things like that. So thank you, but I wish I could leave you with an awesome quote. Emma, do you have one?
A quote?
Oh, I have one.
Oh, you do.
Things turn out best for those who make the best out of the way things turn out. Is that right, Emma?
Sure, yeah,
Remember,
sounds great.
it's from Mr. UCLA. John
Oh,
Wooden?
John.
That's my favorite quote.
Got it.
Because win or lose, you can always find the bright side and know that everything happens for a reason. So in sport, I think that really applies, but in everything else, it also applies. So that's the biggest thing I've learned from all the wins and all the losses, a lot of those too. So
Hallelujah.
I think the thing I live by is my favorite quote is be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire, which I actually have tattooed. Well, I have it tattooed down my back is why she did
Got
that.
it.
But I think that just really keeps me going. And I think something that I've always done in my life is just say yes to everything and kind of figure it out as I go. And I know that like everything's turned out just fine. And I think if I just keep saying yes to things and if you really love it, then just go for it. So
Rad.
yeah.
You. Hold on. Yeah, bring it in. All right. Listen, last one. If people want to follow you in your sports exploits, is there anywhere that they can do that? Where can people find you if they want to?
You can find me on Instagram at Kali Wilding, KaliWilding.
You can also find me on Instagram at emma.mcds.
All right. Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank
Keep
you
rocking and
so
rolling.
much.
Super proud of you. Thanks
Thank
for
you
being
so
here
much.
on the
I
Passion
hope to see
Project.
everyone out on the water.
Yeah.